You're welcome to part of our big stories this morning. And today we want to take a look at boardroom governance and whether or not it holds the key to Africa's quest, Ghana's quest to industrialization, how we can unlock the AfCFTA promise and sustainable development for the continent. And I have with me, it's an honor to have in studio with me, Professor Douglas Boateng. He is a globally recognized governance strategist, international charter director, and distinguished professional chairman of boards, and also Africa's very first ever professor extraordinaire in supply and value chain management. Prof, welcome to the program.
Good morning to your viewers.
Great. Last time you were here, we spoke about how procurement can be used as a tool for good or better governance in national development, not just as a way of getting things, buying and selling. And today we want to talk about boardroom governance, because I've been reading a lot of your articles in the dailies about how boardroom governance really is where we should look at if we want to change the status quo in terms of how we do governance in this country. And so let's start from there. First of all, I want to start with the simple question of why do you believe boardroom governance is the missing link in Africans' long-term quest for industrialization and, should I add, sustainable development?
Okay, thank you very much. For me, and for most of these Pan-Africanists, as we call ourselves, governance is basically about doing what is right. It becomes very a complicated subject matter which confuses quite a few leaders. But it's about doing things for the common good. And it starts in the boardroom. Unfortunately, in our part of the world and in most developing economies, what happens is governance has become like a box ticking things for business leaders, which is rather unfortunate. And unless, of course, we are able to have a mindset shift in terms of what it is about, it becomes a challenge for the country's industrialization agenda. Why do I say that? It's because governance is about long-term thinking. It's about building for the next generation. It's about protecting shareholder wealth and also building on it. Now, when you misunderstand governance, it means you become very short-term thinker. You don't really focus on the generational aspects of building societies.
Is that what our current boardroom chairman persons think governance or boardroom governance is? Yes. Like, I want you to draw the difference between what they think it is right now and the results we get versus what you think it should be and the results we stand to achieve if we see it differently.
The sad reality in our part of the world is that they see governance as box ticking. Let's satisfy the status quo for the next, before the next 4 years or 5 years.
Kathleen Addy, not NCC, she said politicians only think in 4 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. and you cannot build a society or build an organization in 4 years.
Right.
And that is what has been bedeviling our continent. You need to think beyond 4 years. You are building something for someone to also come and take over and build upon it. That is how societies are built. That is how companies are built. But unfortunately, with our case, it's more, let's think the next 4 years. Nothing is built in 4 years.
Okay.
It has to be for 10, 15, 20 years. You don't build for yourself, you build for generations.
So how do we begin to change the narrative? Recently, we've seen a lot of boards being formed. With this new administration, we've seen a lot of people appointed to boards of various state-owned institutions. And you are talking about generational development and not to think about it like thought like we are doing already. So what does it take? And how can better governed boards influence the success of, by extension, AfCFTA? Because I think when we talk about the development of Ghana and Africa, AfCFTA was supposed to be that catalyst, and yet we are not actually reaping the benefits yet.
Yes, that's true. We're not reaping the benefits. But slow progress is better than no progress. We're making progress, but it's a bit slow. Board's function is dependent on the people on the board. In most African countries, people are rewarded for what they call loyalty. Nothing wrong with that, but have to obviously appoint the right people into the boardroom for them to be able to have a mindset change and look at the common good and not the self-good.
What constitutes the right people? Are we talking specialized skills? Are we talking advanced career in whatever area you're going into? What qualifies a person to be the right person to be appointed onto a board?
Experience, having an open mindset, focus on the country, not on a political party, not on the organization. What are you doing for the common good? What is your purpose in the boardroom? That is the key. Have you got the right experience? I believe that you have to be bold enough to accept that if I'm appointed and I cannot do it, I will not take it. But in our case, they can't do it and they take it. And they are not even prepared to learn. How many boardrooms have put their board members through some sort of training programs? It's very rare. We've got to change that. Yes, we've got to change that. You know, there's a difference between being a board member and being a manager. They confuse it. Board is about directional thinking. You know, they tend to confuse us. So when you, that is why there's sometimes a conflict between the executive and the supervisory board. All these things we need to find a way of, you know, addressing. And the only way you do that is through awareness campaigns. Hence, we're having this boardroom summit to discuss how we move forward. There's a tendency in our part of the world also to just focus on the chairman, which for me is rather interesting because it's a board that makes a decision, not the chairman. It is a board that makes a decision. So if something goes wrong, it has to be the board that is held accountable.
But who leads the board?
The chairman is the chairman of the board. You know, the interesting thing is the chairman is just like a logistics director, making sure that things are right. That's why there's a voting system on the board. We vote. And then when there's a tie, then the chairman has the casting vote. But it's the board that makes decisions. At least for the board that I have chaired, we debate, we agree to disagree, and then, obviously, sometimes I'm voted down, but I need to accept the collective decision.
So, I mean, I want to make the most out of you here on this conversation. And you're a globally recognized governance strategist, international chartered director, and a distinguished professional chairman of boards. So in your vast experience, having worked across so many sectors, what do you think is I know you've already spoken about changing the mindset, but in terms of practical things to do, how do we shift that mindset in terms of how many African organizations are struggling with continuity?
Yes.
What do they do? What practical steps can they take? In case someone is watching us right now and wants to actually do what you're saying, change the mindset, what does it take?
Basically, you need to have the people on the board that are prepared to listen, that are prepared to go through training, that are prepared to accept that they are in the wrong. Board members, at least the boards that I've sat on and also chaired, there is this, we have a purpose here. What is your purpose on the board? Once you know your purpose on the board, it makes it easier. Once you are prepared to listen, it makes it easier to learn. Once you are prepared to challenge, it makes it easier for you to make a difference. There are boards where people just go and to get their per diems. They just go, sit and say nothing because they want to get their per diems. Now, and board fees. For me, it goes beyond that. You have a responsibility, not just to your organization, but to society. And we have to find a way of getting that mindset change through awareness campaigns, whereby we make people understand what governance is all about. Governance is not about box ticking. It is about having a purpose to make a difference to the organization and to society as a whole.
I want to make this conversation practical at this point. Something you said about we focus too much on board chairman, you know, the chair, rather than the board, because it's a collective decision, whatever they decide to do. Recently, we know that there's an ongoing case. OSP picked up the former board chairman of the Ghana Airports Company Limited over an issue. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What drop a pin in terms of why they're holding him accountable. And then, of course, there's the issue about landed properties. I don't want to get into the legal part. But in this case where it was the board chair who introduced this company, Evertex also, to the board. And at the time, they only had one worker, employee, and the board chairman introduced this company to the board, and the discussions to whether or not awarding that procurement, you know, also started at the board level. Who should be held accountable, the entire board or the board chairman at the time? Is what the OSP doing? I mean, I want to understand how you see these things unfold.
Yes. See, I need to declare I don't know the details of this whole unfortunate saga. But at the end of the day, it is the board. The chairman may introduce a company, but the board decides as to whether to allow this thing to go through, this company to be awarded a contract. What did the executive do in terms of when the thing was introduced, this organization? Because it has to go through the executive and then it comes back to the board. Bear in mind that the board is just supervisory. It's a part-time role. At best, you meet 4 times a year. But it's the executive that is responsible for basically taking what the chairman said, analyzing and doing their due diligence, and it comes back to the board. And then the board will decide, is this right or wrong? Now, was that process followed?
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Yes.
You missed out the after part. You mentioned, you've spoken about the right choice of people to put on the board, the right attitude in terms of not just going there to get money, but understand that there's a purpose, there's a calling that you have to do and all that. But I want you to situate this in the after context as to why we aren't actually reaping as much benefits as we, I think, ought to be, you know, reaping when it comes to after, and how boardroom governance can change that status quo.
Okay. AfCFTA was obviously put together to help to tap into the 1.4 billion market.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the mindset of most board members, they are still very nationalistic in their thinking. So, for example, when it comes to Ghana, most of these board members are thinking about the 32 million people in Ghana, not the 1.4 billion potential market. Most of these board members are thinking about Europe and the US. Trump has just put some tariffs in place. For me, the mindset is what is holding back after. When you can ship something from India to Ghana and it will take less time to get to your office than from Togo to your office, it doesn't make sense to me. And these are things that have to be discussed in the boardroom, and the board, as a supervisory entity, should be able to encourage the chief executive and the executive organization that let's look beyond our immediate market. Let's look at helping the government to break down these barriers. We can't move things around. People cannot even move around. All these things have to be addressed, and it starts in the boardroom. And by the way, boardroom is not just an organizational boardroom. The cabinet is a boardroom. Ministers are making decisions that will affect you and I. What is the mindset of the trade minister? What is the mindset of the finance minister? Because whatever decision they decide in the place called cabinet or ministerial room, it's a boardroom. Boardroom decisions affect you and I. And if you have square pegs in round holes, we all suffer. So
for a boardroom to be successful, this is my penultimate question. Is it character or is it strategy?
The character is very important.
Character more than strategy?
Yes, because when you have character, it helps to define the strategy. When you have a purpose, it helps to define the strategy. It helps you to be able to see through things. But right now, people look at the strategy. Strategy is just a concept and a visionary document. It has to work. We have the right people. It's all about the people in the boardroom. That makes a difference. It's all about the people in the cabinet. That makes a difference.
I understand you're convening a global meeting of a sort where you get more incisive with this conversation, educate people on how their boardrooms can begin to effect the changes that we want to see. Let's talk about that, and that will be your concluding remarks for us today.
Okay, thank you. Last year, the last 10 years or so, I've been around the continent, and I see a similar pattern of confusion in terms of what governance is all about. Governments came about because of governance, doing what is good for the common good. And then I realized that we need to try and come up with our own ideas and concepts about how we govern ourselves for us to be economically emancipated, and towards Agenda 2063. So I convened a summit last year, and it was spectacularly successful at Labadi Beach Hotel, where we had just under 1,000 C-suite executives attend. So this year, I decided to also reconvene it. And the presidency, especially the chief of staff, the Honorable Julius Debra, when I had a discussion with him in terms of the resetting agenda, this is the core. He liked the idea, and he's in full support. And then he's going to be even the guest speaker. So we decided, let's put this thing together and basically look at how we can help with the resetting agenda. Now, what is the theme for this year? This year is about the role of the chairperson. And I picked that for a reason, because there's a bit of a confusion in terms of the role of
the board in itself and then the chair. Yeah.
Yes, and see how we can come up with some frameworks that will help us to understand the difference between being a board and executive and how we can move forward. It's on the 14th of October. And I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of Pan-Africanists and also chief executives from the continent that would, and chairperson that would attend this event that is happening at the Labadi Beach Hotel with the keynote speaker being Honorable Julius Debra. And also I'm even talking to the Bank of Ghana, because financial services sector, we all know what has happened in our beloved financial services sector. How they can obviously also play a part.
Prof, thank you so much for joining us. It's always too short a time for us to have a conversation. But I appreciate it, because I know over the years you have advised governments, multinational corporations, and many boards with past and present CEOs, and they're still reaping the benefits of your mentorship. So hopefully the country can drink from this vast pool of knowledge and wisdom that you have.
Thank you. I'm also learning from the country.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming. That is Professor Douglas Boateng, a globally recognized governance strategist, international chartered director, and a distinguished professional chairman of boards. He's also Africa's first ever professor extraordinaire in supply and value chain management. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, so that's that. We still have a lot more coming your way, but before I go, I want to remind you that it is possible to make your dream a reality with EcoBank. Step into your ideal home or transform your current space into one that truly reflects your style and comfort, all with the support from EcoBank. EcoBank has once again partnered with Joy News to bring you an exciting experience at the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. This year's edition makes your journey to a comfortable, modern home even more accessible and affordable. With EcoBank's Buy Now, Pay Later, you can easily renovate, upgrade, or furnish your home to suit your taste and style. So whether it's elegant home decor or modern furniture or essential electronics like laptops or solar energy solutions, EcoBank has the right financing tailored for your lifestyle. So from staying connected with the latest devices to embracing sustainable living, our flexible consumer loans, asset finance, and salary advance products are all designed to help you bring your vision to life. You want to enjoy competitive interest rates, convenient repayment terms, and fast approval from a bank that understands your needs. Visit our stand and take the first step towards the home and lifestyle you deserve. Comfortable homes starts with EcoBank. Be a part of it. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. More after this break.